One. Welcome back. This is the Press Club, final segment. I want to touch on something that didn't make the news this week, but not a lot of it. That's the Senate debate. It's something that we've remarked on before. You specifically have spoken about the fact that the Senate debate does not seem to be as sexy as the main parliamentary debate or budget debates. And so they don't get a lot of the media or even public interest or attention. NTN continues to broadcast them, and I appreciate them because I thoroughly enjoy the sittings and the exchanges. This one was no exception. I enjoyed the debate on the Citizenship by Investment program. I enjoyed Senator King's presentation, as I always do. He made some very valid points. Deborah Tobier as well, Berthia Powell. These are the people I look forward to. And your friend, your very good friend, Mr. Corbinier, you know, as you pointed out, when he steps into that house, totally different, transformed person. Your impression of him has to change, you know, when you see him in action. He dominates the proceedings and the discussion. There are some points made about the Citizenship by Investment program. Dr. King, the main point of his argument or the presentation was that let us not rush into the Citizenship by Investment program. Yes, he recognizes and appreciates its merits. He thinks it can benefit the country, but let us not be hasty in implementing it. Let us first come up with a vision and mission plan for the country, interestingly pointing out and admitting that he's part of the Vision Commission. And let us see how the CIP can factor into that rather than have it function as a separate scheme, you know, all on its own. Similar views expressed by a couple other senators, including Mary Isaac, who called for a referendum. Why wasn't there a referendum? We heard Ezekiel Joseph also talk about the fact that perhaps the public was not aware enough with what the CIP involved. Then again, Mr. Corbinier had to point out to him that that information has been available to the public for the longest time.
On the government's website.
Yeah, and he's expressing his disappointment that some of the senators, you know, obviously had not taken the time to read it, you know. So you come into debate something that you're not informed about, you know. Dr. James Fletcher, also a very interesting presentation, somebody I like to watch in action as well. Made some very interesting points, and I think you are the exception in this weekend's newspapers, have carried a lot of the discussion from the Senate, including the fact that he was saying, as the Prime Minister pointed out, some of that money coming out of the Citizenship by Investment program is going to be going into a specific fund targeted at national development projects. And Dr. Fletcher was saying, given the severity of the situation as far as climate change and the fact that the Caribbean countries, including St. Lucia, are most vulnerable to the effects of climate change in all sectors, across all sectors, perhaps a feeling on the part of the media in pointing out how seriously all those sectors can be affected, from food security to health to education, even crime, was suggesting that perhaps that is one source of funding for our climate adaptation mechanisms and programs. But I don't know if you got to see the Senate.
Well, I only saw snippets of it. I have my stars. My new star in the Senate is Senator Mary Isaac. And yes. I was interested in her presentation when the exchange between her and Senator Fletcher on the issue where she had claimed that when she looked at other legislation, the kind of names that she saw of persons applying, that would bring Boko Haram and ISIS people over here. I mean, she did eventually reluctantly admit that she didn't call names or she didn't mention the word terrorism, but there again we see that when it comes to economic citizenship, we want to learn from the experiences of others and not go through those experiences. But in terms of the fact that we still have people in Parliament today who would want to behave as if every Muslim name has to be terrorist. You know, as one of the senators pointed out, if that is the case, then we would not accept, you know, Barack Saddam Obama or Barack Mohammed Obama. Here, 3 members of the Bin Laden family died in England, and I mean they got almost a royal salute. They didn't treat them as Bin Laden's family, as we would probably have. So I think that the fact that the Senate is being broadcast on NTN, and the fact that more media houses recognize that the truth is there are in fact senators in there who make more sense, you know, in terms of treating the issues than they are in Parliament. I think more and more of us in the media are becoming to recognize the importance of also not just following the Senate, but sharing what comes out of it with the public. We're running out of time, but one of the things about the Senate that people, and again, we have to, as media, be able to understand that. Why is the Senate called the upper house? And the House of Assembly, the lower house, when the House of Assembly is the one that makes the laws. But what people generally don't know is that if the Senate cannot take positions on money bills, they cannot stop a money bill, but any other bill that is passed in the House, if the Senate says no, it cannot be passed. So that's why the two houses, the upper houses and the lower house, form the Parliament. So all of those things we need to be able to explain, not just to ourselves, but to people. You know, why is a senator different? How can a senator who didn't win an election become a member of cabinet? You know, all of these little nuances and intrigues we have accepted as a historical reality. But if we better understand them, we would take another question I had for you. I saw a new senator on the government side.
Thaddeus
What
Antoine?
happened there?
I think he's holding on for Stanley Felix.
Oh, acting. Oh, yeah, Stanley Felix.
Yeah, but I must say that was a very good presentation on his part as well. Thaddeus Antoine, bravo to you. Looking forward to seeing him again.
Yeah, well, you might come to, they might say you are red, you know.
No,
as in international, red international.
Because, well, they say it already. I get accused of being both red and yellow.
Both red and red,
you know,
and yellow.
I have no loyalty to anybody except Kendall Burton. But it was a very good presentation, as Ezekiel Joseph teased them and said, you know, I see you all unveiling your candidates slowly but surely. So, so if we do go by that, then we might see more of Thaddeus Antoine in that that light. But interesting, before we close, the statement by Mary Isaac I thought was unfortunate. I like the fact that Dr. James Fletcher picked up on it and stood up and spoke on it, and when his presentation came, that he addressed it. It was very unfortunate, but more unfortunate listening to the international news, watching the Republican debates this week. I heard an equally unfortunate comment coming from somebody that you expect would know better on immigration law, and making the same point that people of a certain color, people of a certain ethnicity, people with certain names are linked to ISIS, Boko Haram.
So who trumped you?
and the like, you know, and it threw me back right away to Mary Isaac's comment in Parliament, you know, and then you have the fact that you had names like Timothy McVeigh, you know, homebred U.S. white skin, blue-eyed terrorists. Yeah, because
and at the time when the first World Trade Center, the Timothy McVeigh, they went after the Arabs.
Exactly.
You know, they went after the Arabs until it evolved, and America got a wake-up call. You know, that was America's first wake-up call, that the thing we call terrorists is not being exported. It is homegrown, and it can be homegrown as well. I think that at the end of the day, my last question to you, do you think Donald is holding the Trump card?
I reserve comment. But it's just, I mean, the things that are coming out of his mouth are shocking, but he continues to
all these fellas, you know,
score points
except
in the polls.
These two. You know, I found all these fellas who wrote in against me except those two. I give all of them money already.
If we had a clip that peaked like Timothy, mine would have been where he said he doesn't want to criticize the president too harshly. He doesn't want to call him incompetent. That wouldn't be nice.
Having said that,
having said it, you know, like we said, it's out there. But Mr. Buske, thanks. We're out of time. As always, a pleasure meeting and talking with you.
Always good to be here.
Thank you for watching, for joining us. Hopefully you join us again next week and the week after that. See you then.